Hi, and welcome to episode 13 of my Rimworld tutorial series. I'm Icon, and today we're going to start out with a little bit of a shuttle mission where we have to defend downed Imperials, and beyond that, we're also going to take a look into the microelectronics technology. I've taken the liberty to complete this technology between these episodes because I noticed that I was slowly running out of topics, because we are slowly getting towards the end of this tutorial series, because as a matter of fact, I've already explained most of the things you need to know to enjoy this game thoroughly, and we have already covered up enough topics to give you the ability to learn everything on your own, because the game follows the same mechanics everywhere. But there's a few things more to cover, and we're not quite done yet. So the next thing that I want to do after the microelectronics are crossed off, I want to get towards gun turrets. Gun turrets is a pretty valuable technology. It's not the most important thing in the world, but it's really, really powerful. Also, the technology path here unlocks mortars, and mortars are your go-to tool to fight off enemy sieges and enemy mechanoid camps. Because, well, without mortars, it's going to be really hard to fight off these thingies. Okay, but let's get into the quest before we get lost here again. So this is one of those quests where you get to defend a site on your own map. This is only spawning when you have royalty enabled. And long story short, you have to defend one person, Komnena, and you get a certain amount of troops under control to defend that. We can accept for different rewards. I'm going to go for the honor reward because I don't want Bubbles to be a yeoman forever. Because with honor rewards, you can upgrade your people, and honor can be, like I already explained, either be acquired by selling off stuff to the Royal Tribute Collector, or by doing quests for the Empire. Don't you worry too much about accumulating too much honor. If you don't want to promote them, you don't need to promote them. That's one thing you should keep in mind. So we're going to accept that quest, and what's happening now is shuttle crashed. There we go. Crashed in the middle of my defense spot. My god. So this person has to be kept alive, and this guy will defend her. Palaiologos is equipped with a chain shotgun. That's a pretty good weapon. It's basically the upgraded version of your pump shotgun. And now I'm just waiting for a moment because I don't want to wake up my people too early. And now we're bringing the whole squad down here. The quest text also said that we're going to be attacked by pirates from the Fever Society. So pirates always tend to have high-tech weapons, whereas natives have low-tech weapons. That's one thing which you should keep in mind. So Smelly is quite stoned. Smokeleaf does one thing, it lowers your consciousness by 30%. The consciousness stat is a quite vital stat. The lower your consciousness drops, as you see here, everything else lowers as well. So basically, you're acting as fast as, or you can't act as good as you have consciousness on your people. So that's why consciousness is a very, very important stat. So right now we're just waiting here for the enemies to show up, and here they come. So we're being attacked by seriously only one guy. The regular raids on this map are more frightening, but I don't want to mutter about that. So we're going to bring Pi up here. And this is going to be a short thing. But one thing you have to take care of. McFly is a really good fighter, and I can see from the... Yeah, okay, it's just a parka. Okay. Looked a little bit like flak. So sometimes your enemies wear flak gear, and it's really important to keep an eye out for that. And so this guy even got downed. Do we want to hire McFly? I say absolutely, because this guy is a good fighter and he's a good researcher, and beyond that his space stats aren't horrible either. So we go up there, and I already explained it several times. We put up a sleeping spot over here, put that onto the prisoner tab, and now let's check out Pi catched a bullet, but that's just a bleeding wound with no immediate danger, so we don't need to be too worried about that. I'm going to send Smelly to rescue that, to capture that guy. Or wait a sec, I won't, because she's well, she's going to be not stoned anymore in a second, so it's going to be okay. Just wanted to forbid her this job when I realized that she's going to move normally fast in a minute. Okay, and that's all we have to do. The next thing that will happen is a new shuttle will land for Komnena and Palaiologos to escape. And what's also important to note, it was not necessary at any point that that Palaiologos survived that. So it would have been perfectly fine if that guy would have died. So how can there be a power circuit if it's not shown? Game, you're lying. If something like that happens, as you see here, these two things, they don't have power anymore because they are connected to a wrong power switch. It's really weird that I can't build a power conduit here. This doesn't happen with my usual mod packs. You can just press the reconnect button and then they will try to wire themselves on a correct piece of grid. So here we see McFly is being patched up and the rescue shuttle has arrived. They are going away and we got our honor for that. Simple as that. So McFly, now we're going to recruit him, and as you see, he is not exactly going to be happy in that room. If you want to recruit people effectively, it's very, very helpful if you give them a proper room. Sleeping right next to the crematorium where you burn the fallen is not exactly inspiring any feeling of safety for McFly, but that's okay for now. So we got this nailed down. The things we need now are a little bit more steel, and I want to use these wonderful things we have researched with microelectronics. Microelectronics opens up a lot of different things, and we got to work quite hard to get that going. Right now, everybody is having some sleep because we had a long combat situation there. It's not unusual for these situations to transform into sleep outs all over the colony. So McFly is now suffering from an infection. This brings me to the point where I want to relocate McFly. So first off, since I want to recruit him, I'm going to bring up a proper doctor care here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reinstall this bed over here. Need to right click the shadow. And now we're going to transform that into a prisoner cell. Disable or deconstruct this one by pressing X. And now I'm recapturing him again and putting him into a proper bed. And now the next thing happens, she's going to tend to him properly. Because if somebody is suffering from an infection, a sleeping spot on the ground is the worst you can do. You need a proper bed with lighting, and you see here, tending quality 100%. I'm pretty sure that we can now keep him on herbal medicine, and he will be fine. One problem about McFly is he's an alcohol addict. When people get addicted, they get a new need for the substance they are addicted to. If they don't have if this need here drops to 0, they will slowly lose the addiction, but at the same time they will be very, very unhappy for a longer period of time because they would love to have something for themselves, as you might think. So the good news about this incident here, where's that shuttle? Usually you can deconstruct that shuttle. Did they already deconstruct that shuttle? No, I'm confused. Well, as a part of the loot, you keep the leftovers of the shuttle when you deconstruct it. Must already have placed down the job for that. So that's a little bit of loot on the side as well, always. All right, Mr. McFly is no longer incapable of walking, and we're going to keep him in the colony. Okay, so since I need more steel now, we're going to assign people to mine away there. They might be not the best miners, but they are all the miners I got right now. So back to the topic. When we got when we unlocked microelectronics, we unlocked a multitude of really useful technologies with that. There's now accessible the comms console. This thing allows radio contact with other factions and orbital traders, and it's an invaluable tool in your colony. Keep one thing in mind though: once this is placed down, unlike other buildings, you can't move it again afterwards. So once it's placed down, it stays where you placed it down. So that's a little bit iffy about that. I don't know why this game has such irregularities, but well. So we're trying to recruit this guy. You see low mood, low opinion is diminishing the successes. So the more mood somebody has, the better. And in the long run, your prisoners will start to like the person that's wardening them, and this will also make the successes easier in a nutshell. So we have a transport pod crash. Oh yeah, so here some random person crash landed in our base, and she is not connected to any faction. These people can be just captured and recruited. And, well, she's also incapable of dumb labor. I'm really unlucky with this in this regard today, but whatever. She's a good miner. I need that. There's two things you can do now. The first thing would be rescuing her. If you would rescue her, she would get a role whether she's staying or not in your colony, and it's up to the person if she's going to leave your place. And the other way we're doing it here right now is by capturing that person. Factionless people, you can always capture them, and we're going to recruit her now as well because it's perfect. Now we have a lot of people to recruit. Okay, so sadly we don't have the necessary steel yet to go for the comms console, so I'm going to send my people to mine a little bit more because it's going to take quite some time until our new people are in the colony. So this needs tending, but let's check it out. Infection is at 30%, immunity is at 57%, so absolutely good. And Smelly is already running for the next tending, wonderful. So 45% quality, this is good enough. As I mentioned before, a few episodes ago, my personal go-to strategy is always to start with a industrial type medicine and then head over to herbal medicine if I really want to keep these people alive. If I am open for a gamble, I am just willing to take herbal medicines right away. Also, I'm willing to take herbal medicines if the people that are doing the job are really good doctors. Then you can do this as well. Just a few things. As you see, again, there's no easy and definite answer in this game. You're playing the wrong game if you're looking for problems which have only one solution. That's not Rimworld. Alright, Emmanuel is now carving out the steel out of the mountain. Appreciate that. So we could also assign somebody to smelt some steel here. Let's see. Bubbles is relaxing with a bubble of beer. This is always very, very satisfying for me to see these things. Alright. But looks like Emmanuel is already on the duty here. Okay, he's eating something, never mind. Alright, but he's completing the comms console now. Wonderful. Okay. So the comms console on its own doesn't do too much. When you select it, you can call people. So we can call our neighbors. And what's the most important thing, once you are allied with them, that's a goodwill of 75, you can request trade caravans and immediate military aid. The trade caravan will come a couple of days later. The immediate military aid is, well, it's in the name, isn't it? So with these, you can summon allies and get yourself trade caravans quicker. You can also call hostile factions, but there's not too much you can do with them. And if I remember correctly, you can also... No, with the pirates you can't do anything. Last but not least, there's also the Empire, but as you see, the options are always the same. But there's another wonderful thing you can do with these, and that's build up orbital trade beacons. As you see, the orbital trade beacon has a radius, and it's quite simple. The orbital trade beacon is, well, marking things to be sold or to be traded with when an orbital trader hits town. So it works like this. The moment you have a comms console, you will get notified when there's an orbital trader in the planetary orbit. That's kind of like a random event that can always happen. The other thing there is now that once you have the comms console, you can trade with them. And everything which is within the range of an orbital trade beacon can be seen and be traded with orbital traders, because, you know, these guys are in a spaceship up above the planet, so you need to put down these beacons to give information about the places that you're storing stuff. So I typically have a orbital trade beacon in pretty much every storage area later in the game, except for those storage areas where I actually don't want to trade. It happens, but not too often. But that's how you work with these. Once the orbital trader hits town, you can just communicate with them by operating the comms console, just like I've showed you a minute ago. So that's all that's behind that. But it's really, 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 really valuable. I can't put enough reallys on that, because that's a way for you to do trade even if you have selected some patch on your map where there's no trading available. Let's say you would be a die-hard player and playing up here in the tundra. Can't play there, it's no problem. Well, it is with connected with problems, but it is survivable. But what I want to say is, if you're playing right here, caravanneering for trading would be not exactly your favorite sport, and the comms console brings a solution to that problem. So just noticing we have no power connection there. Let's change that. And another thing worth mentioning is the orbital trade ships have completely different traders available. So the traders that come from regular caravans feature other items than the spaceship traders. So, but that's not all we can do here. We're not at the end of the wonderful microelectronics technology. Since I have already unlocked the machining technology, we can now put up a machining table. But as you see here, now the age of steel begins. Basically, once you notice that you are always out of steel and you always need more components, congratulations, you've hit the mid-game. Because that's basically what I consider the mid-game of Rimworld. So McFly is going berserk. Sometimes your prisoners just have that. They don't like life sometimes. So it's perfectly understandable. If you want to make sure that you don't kill those people, you don't shoot at them. Well, Emmanuel was faster with that shotgun than I could actually act on him. But oh well, all's well. So, at the end of the day, this is why prisoners are always kind of a risk factor. It's never completely harmless to work with prisoners, and yeah. So where was I? Yeah, I wanted to build the machining table. So as you see here, wait a sec. Tending to smelly with medicine. Here. So one thing that I forgot to do. Everybody here in the colony is still on highest quality medicine. That's nonsense. I'm going to put herbal medicine here, and what you can do, you select that, hold down the left mouse button and drag the cursor down. With this method, you can copy these settings. So what I did here, I was also changing their default behavior from fleeing to attacking, because I personally like that more. Okay. So, well, we're going to patch up McFly, no problem, and all's good. So, yeah. Emmanuel is recovering from his, he's too tired. So, you know what, guys? I'm going to fast forward now a little bit until I have the necessary resources for the machining table. Be right back. Alright, a couple of mining jobs later, we have the necessary resources to put up the machining table. It wasn't too exciting, we just carved out a couple of machinery pieces and a few of the steel pieces, and now we're there. So the machining table. This is a very powerful bench where you can not only create lots of different items, you can also disassemble mechanoids here. This is really cool because this way you can gain materials from mechanoids. But what I want to showcase here is something quite simple, and that's the EMP grenades. 20 steel. Oh, okay, we're again out of steel. Come on, Pi, help me out here. So EMP grenades are my go-to weapon against mechanoids in general, because there's one cool thing about EMP grenades. They stun mechanoids. They don't hurt your people at all. Unless they have implants, too many of them. They also disable bionics. But if you have too many implants, then usually you don't have any problems with that. The EMP grenades also break shield belts, so there's a few things to be careful about, but beyond that, there's really not too much to be too worried about. Oh, they require 6 components, not only 1 component. So we'll have to work on that. The EMP grenades work a little bit differently than other weapons. Why I want to create a few. So we're sending our people here to carve out some machinery. I'm focusing this so much because I know that mechanoids are extremely dangerous. If you are personally playing on lower difficulties and not emphasizing the battle gameplay that much as I do here, then you have really not too much of a problem with this whole situation, and you don't need to stress it out that much. But I personally discovered for me that the EMP grenades have proven invaluable against mechanoids, and I like to use EMP grenades over launchers because the launchers tend to have more inaccuracy and a longer wind-up time, and that grizzly bear now has decided to hunt one of my sheep, so we're going to intervene. There's a decent chance that the grizzly bear will never get there, but yeah, you know. So what I'm doing here is I'm sending bubbles after it to burden it, but let's see, is that even a possibility or not? No, we're not going to catch that bear. So instead I'm going to undraft my people and wait it out. Okay, but there's not that much more to add to this topic. The grenades can be used against mechanoids, I already mentioned that. And this is one of my major reasons why I forced this technology so much, to have access to mechanoid stopping weapons and having access to the comms console. But there's yet another thing which is really important to know. We now also have access to the high-tech research bench. This is basically the upgrade for the research table. It needs power, and it also needs a lot of steel and components. When you check out the technologies beyond microelectronics, they all have the required research bench, high-tech research bench. Here, there's nothing, wherever there's no notification, you don't need that. Later, there are also technologies which also need the multi-analyzer. The multi-analyzer is just an add-on for the high-tech research bench. It's working just exactly like these drawers. It attaches itself to up to, I think, 3 high-tech research benches. I'm not sure about the number anymore, but long story short, you build one multi-analyzer and then you have access to even more technologies. The technologies that need the high-tech research bench can also only be researched at this bench, which means if you have a simple research bench and a high-tech research bench, the simple research bench will not be used anymore, even if you have 2 researchers. They can't contribute points at the wrong bench, if that makes any sense to you. So beyond that, we pretty much covered up most things that are in this game to be explained in this game. The only things that are working a little bit differently now would be mortars and deep drilling and long-range scanning. And after that, the only mechanic which is a little bit new and different would be the actual ending of the game, and that's building a spaceship and getting off this planet. So we pretty much covered up most topics of the game, and I don't know which topics I should take beyond that, because with the things that I have explained now, you should be able to get through this game. If there's I don't know. I feel like there are no new mechanics that I could show to you. Animals is a very unique mechanical system which features some unique things. Then there's still the royalty stuff, but well, I did playthrough series where I explained these things too. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave this up to you, friends, at this point, what we're going to see in the future, because I really don't know where I should continue this this tutorial series if you understand my problem. So feel free to drop me some comments down below and let me know what kind of content you would like to see here, because I feel like, well, with this, when you watch this series and you kept most things in your mind, you will be able to get everything else together on your own. Pretty sure you should. Maybe I left out something, but then feel free to give me a comment. So as the end of this video, I'm going to feature the EMP grenades here. So EMP grenades work like this. Usually I equip them, and as you see here now, this is a completely different weapon type. And EMP grenades work like that. You have this radius, and the EMP launcher has a higher radius. This is one thing which would be better. And this is the explosion radius. And a person equipped with these lobs a grenade, then it explodes, keeps lobbing. And what I love to do is to have one EMP grenadier standing really close to the mechanoids and lobbing EMP grenades on top of them. So if the situation would be, let's just pretend that the walls here would be completed and the enemies would be swarming in here, I would leave Smelly already here, and even long before the combat begins, while the enemies are still moving through here, I would be using this to make sure the first enemies will always run into the explosions of these grenades. This is a very, very powerful strategy if you run into your first centipedes and other really horrible monsters. Believe me, it works quite well until you get outnumbered. Then you need other strategies, but that's that. So there's 3 topics: mortars, deep drilling, and long-range mineral scanning. So if you want another video about that, feel free to drop that into the comments down below. Overall, these systems don't work differently in any way. It's not much more about that. So my method now will be, if there's going to be enough comments below this video about topics that need some coverage, I'm going to produce the next episode. Unless that happens, this is the end of this wonderful little tutorial series, and I hope it was helpful for you. And like I said, ask away if there are new topics. I'm willing to expand this series, but hey, McFly is one of us now. I'm willing to expand this series, but I don't know what to add in at this point anymore. Feel free to tell me to. So, drop a thumbs up on that video if you liked it, because I don't need to ask again for comments. I already did that already. And of course, if you like that series, subscribe to my channel, turn on those notifications. I do daily content, and therefore you might want to tune in on that. Besides that, have a wonderful time. Thank you so much for being with me with this series until this very episode. It means a terrible lot to me, because as a matter of fact, one of the first things I did on this YouTube channel was a very similar tutorial series to this, which basically nobody watched. Now you watched this one, and I'm really happy about that. Have a nice day, and see you soon, I hope. Bye bye!